Hello, my friends. It is Ashwin. How are you? Today, I'm here to bring you a feature on a shoe that I've been meaning to review for quite some time. The brand is Sons of Henrey, and that's Henry spelled Henrey, nominally out of Belgium, but produced in Spain. I wanted to talk about this brand as it's been emerging over the past few years as one of the strong players in the classic men's shoe market. And this is the most famous model produced by Sons of Henrey, which is their George. Their George model is a Norwegian split toe derby. So Sons of Henrey was founded by a gentleman named Tom Brone. Tom had previously been in the shoe industry with another company and had established himself on a number of different social media platforms for his work with that company. Ultimately came to the decision to start his own brand to try to fill a niche in the classic menswear and shoe market, particularly in the market for welted shoes, seeing a possible opportunity. So this is a beautiful model here. And so he produces shoes that are going to compete with brands like Allen Edmonds, other brands such as Carmina and Crockett and Jones, that kind of range of brand, Goodyear welted shoes that are factory made primarily. And his focus has really been on the leather choices available to customers. One of the things with Sons of Henrey that's really cool is that they are made with leathers that are traditionally used in bespoke houses. And this is a shoe that was made in an Inca grain leather. I'm showing you a profile picture, and then I'll show you the overhead picture again. Inca grain is a unique leather that's a little different than your typical Scotch grain, some of your Annonay hatch grains, or your Utah grains, which is also a popular leather utilized by Sons of Henrey. It takes a little bit more work to get this shined up, and I use pure polish products to do that. But once done so, it really produces a really lovely, lustrous look to it. Not not sort of atypical of sort of much higher quality leathers, such as peccary leathers. There's a sort of unique, distinct pattern to this leather. And this is a calfskin leather. The split toe derby, as you guys know, is a very popular model, somewhat casual, more so than Oxford's, has a open lace pattern, a central split down the toe, hence the split toe, and an apron here. And so Sons of Henrey is using a machine stitched apron. It's not your typical hand sewn pie crust apron that you might see. And the machine stitching is probably a little bit more economical. But everything done on this shoe is done very, very well. So there's a lot of precision to the stitching done in the uppers. So you can see there that there's very few errors as you scan the shoe. Obviously, you're getting a really high quality leather. Now, I'm not sure if Tom has sourced leathers that are slightly thinner, which may be a little bit cheaper. I do notice that his Utah grain leathers, and I'm going to show you a shoe in a moment that's made out of Utah grain, seem to crease a little bit easier. And so I wonder if it's a little bit thinner, but this particular model, this Inca grain, which is sourced for around $350 around that, a little bit cheaper in the US due to not having to pay the VAT tax that is required in Europe. Seems to be pretty thick and robust and doesn't seem to crease. I've already worn this a few times and shined it up. He uses a beautiful last that he developed through Springline. That's a almond toe. Here you can see it's a little bit elongated and has 5 eyelets, very clean stitch pattern, cap, a heel cap here. And then if you look at the stitch density on the welt, you're talking about 7 stitches per inch. I actually went and measured that with this measurement ruler just to see how it would compare to other brands. So 7 stitches per inch is more than a company, say like Allen Edmonds or even Alden in some instances do. And it's comparable with companies like JM Weston, Carmina, others. Certainly there are much higher welt stitch densities out there. And most people would say that once you get into the 8 to 10 range, you're getting to be quite of an elegant look. And then you can go as high as 13, 14, 15, 16. After that, it starts to become a little bit trivial, but this is done at a stitch density of 7 stitches per inch, which is very respectable for the type of shoe you get. And I'll say over and over again, and I think most of my friends in the shoe world would agree, is that you pay what you get what you pay for. So, you get a machine stitched, what looks like at least a machine stitched split toe here. It's not a reverse stitch or a skin stitch pattern you may see in other Norwegian split toes. You get a very clean design. You get a heel block. You get an open channel stitching here with a rubber sole, but a very, typical waist, nothing that's particularly narrow. Certainly no fiddleback on this guy, or a bevel, maybe a very slight bevel. Heel block that's got a little bit of extra detailing here, but not much. It's really just an extension of the sole over here, at least on this particular model. But a clean design, and something that on the feet will look really, really good. So for those of you considering kind of the higher end shoes, you might really want to think about Sons of Henrey. They're fantastic. I wanted to put a quick picture of both shoes up next to each other, just so you can kind of get a sense for what these look like together. There you go. As I mentioned, in an elongated toe shape, it's an almond shaped last, meaning that it's not your typical round last. It has a little bit more of a stretch to it. As I mentioned again, I applied this mirror shine through using pure polish products. But there is another model I wanted to show off briefly before I sign off on this video, and I think it's very, very well done. This is their penny loafer, which is done on his round toe penny last, or sorry, it's penny loafer last, using a dark brown, almost, it's called an ebony brown Utah grain leather. I mentioned that Utah grain is something that Sons of Henrey uses as a very elegant option for some of their leathers, typically used in much higher end shoes, although now there's companies like Meermin that are using Utah grain leathers. Again, this is a leather that does really well, takes a shine very, very well. Here you see, again, a apron here that has what appears to be, I think, a machine stitch, not a pie crust style apron, but just has this raised mock toe here, which does really well with the Utah grain. Kind of very clean stitching here, nice tight waist. And this comes with a leather sole with a heel block that has some nice nailing in it here. You can see I've obviously worn this shoe. This has got a closed channel stitch, meaning that the stitch is hidden kind of, and the leather is peeled back before the stitches, kind of once the stitch is laid down, and then the leather kind of coats it to protect the stitching. You can see where the stitching is there, but overall, this is a very nice design. It's got a little bit of a bevel to the waist there. You can see the size of the shoe printed here. And again, you got a nice clean heel block. Whereas it's not necessarily tapered or a pitched heel, this is a block heel. It's presented rather neatly. It's a nice kind of clean flow to the edge of the shoe along the lines here. And then you can see maybe a little bit of detailing using the fudging wheel along the top of that heel block. Again, you see that nice Goodyear welted, about 7 stitch per inch density to the welt there in this Goodyear welt, and a very clean fit and finish. So Sons of Henrey, take a look, beautiful round last. Let me throw the 2 different lasts up so you can kind of get a sense for what a round last versus an almond last looks like. You can see the differences here. I'm going to put the heels more or less together. The round last maybe a little bit shorter. This is a half size smaller. I size a half size down in my loafers. You can see the luster that these leathers kind of take up. You can see that this guy has a slight elongation and a maybe slight asymmetry that gives it its almond shaped toe. And this is a round last, a soft round last that works tremendously well as a last choice for loafers. Again, a nice kind of angulation to the heel that provides a little bit of arch support. This is a beautiful loafer that's one of my favorites and kind of one of my daily drivers in the use of shoes. So just wanted to pass along information to you about Sons of Henrey. Great value proposition. And as I mentioned, you get what you pay for what you get. And at the end of the day, you just make choices as to which price point you want to stay at. And that requires different levels of skill and craftsmanship as you sort of come about. I will put up a video next soon about October 10th, which is the hand welted line from Sons of Henrey. Also fascinating extension of Tom's vision towards higher end dress shoes with more elegant features that I think are worth reviewing. And I'll put up a couple shoes reviewed on that. So I hope you're doing well. Enjoy your time out there in the world, whenever and wherever you happen to be watching this. And I hope to see you again soon. Take care.